So part of what a father does, and this is very in line with coaching, is training. And it's really interesting, in the New Testament, it doesn't say a lot of direct things to fathers. There's not like whole books of the Bible about fatherhood. There is so much more about fatherhood in the Hebrew scriptures. But there are certain points where Paul's like, I'm going to tell fathers directly what to do. And one of those is in Ephesians 6. And I find this really interesting, right? So when Paul had like one verse in a letter to direct to fathers, this is what he says: Fathers, do not exasperate your children. Instead, bring them up in the training and instruction of the Lord. Wow, this is such a helpful verse because it's telling us exactly what we've been saying so far. The father's role is to train the children, and that there's a moment where you have trained too hard, right? There's a problem. There's two problems that you might have as a father. Again, your expectations may be too high, too rigid. And guess what? That will create exasperation. Your children will signal, Dad, I can never please you. The bar is too high. And so you get that exasperation. And Paul's like, okay, look, dads, I know you're going to push your kids. I know you're going to train your kids. I know this is what you've been waiting your whole life for this, and you want to do this with your children. So yeah, 100%, that is your role. Train them, build them up in the instruction of the Lord, all the way to the point, but don't cross this one line of exasperation. That's exactly what a coach does. Exactly. So when Paul had one verse to explain what a father does, he described perfectly the role of a coach. This is, again, why I think this is such a helpful way to think about fatherhood, to make this transition. So what does training really look like? Well, one of the things that we know as how coaches train, there's 3 steps to any training. 3 steps to any training. So every coach knows this. If you want to see a player develop, you got to do 3 things. You got to demonstrate exactly what you want them to do. Then you drill. You repeat over and over again. You make it you gamify it, right? You do this in any sport. We're going to run some drills. And then once you've completed that, you defend what you've created. It's like, I expect now that you know exactly how to do what we described. And so you want to have a time, let's say you could have 10 or 15 minutes a week, especially if young children. This is one of the funnest things about being a dad, is come up with some drills to help your kids really learn how to perform in different areas. A lot of people ask me, like, what are some examples of areas? Here's 7 areas that we trained our kids in. How to come when we say come. How to stop. How to taste new foods. Blanket time, which is like, if we're really having a deep conversation, or I need you to be able to stay in this blanket for 10, 15 minutes quietly. How to greet adults. How to appropriately interrupt you without completely sidetracking everything. How to resolve sibling conflicts. There's lots of this is really your playground as a father, like to get to train your children in lots of areas. But if your kids are underperforming and you've never trained them, don't discipline them for something you've never taught them how to do. Like, say, okay, look, every time your kids do something that you feel like you would rather they do something differently, first ask the question, have I ever trained them exactly what I'm expecting in this area? Like, how do we get in the car? How do I want you to help each other? How do I want you to help your mother? How do I want you to answer back? Whatever that is, whatever's getting on your nerves, it's your decision. It's your family culture. So create the culture you want, but don't simply do what I think a lot of sort of ideas of fatherhood is. I sit back, I wait till my kids do something that I didn't like, and then I immediately discipline, immediately correct. Like Paul said in Ephesians 6, train your children. So that's why I'm trying to give you like a tool for how to do that. Train your children. So as soon as that happens, just simply say, okay, I'm going to go over, demonstrate exactly the way I want you to respond, or exactly what I want you to do in that situation. Now we're going to practice. You can add treats or rewards or however you want to do that, but to motivate them, make it fun, make it engaging. And then once it's done, like, okay, you know how to do that. I saw that you know how to do that. Now, if you don't do that, there will be consequences. There will be corrections. But we need to make sure that we are beginning with training.